thank you very much. Maybe we all can learn a little bit in sharing knowledge. One of the most important thing is I've seen many people using MAGRAPH systems, using GaNs. Can you switch off your microphone, please? We see over years that people start producing GaNs and nanomaterials and nano coating. And I was in the medical teaching yesterday, and a discussion came up, and I think it has to be explained in a way that a lot of us understand. Um, People use or produce these MAGRAPH units, they produce these GaNs, but really don't understand the way they produced it. And then they say the system, it doesn't work, or the system doesn't have the same effect as the other system, or they don't understand why things happening. Many of you start making these boxes of CO2, and you produce all sorts of gases which then you use to do whatever you like with. And then somewhere in the lab or next on the same table you have another MAGRAPH system or a GaNs system making another kind of gases, and you think, okay, I have a CO2 here, I have a zinc oxide here. Next to it, another table, you're producing another plates, and you're producing, let's say, CH3. And so I'm producing CH3, I'm producing CO2, I'm producing COs, and then whatever. This has been one of the biggest problems in the way that people have been producing these materials. If you are doing one-off jobs, doing something, it doesn't matter what it is, okay, you're learning. But if you go into the details and you understand exactly what you are doing, it's very important that we all understand one principle. What picture you see is in the matter state. But in fact, what you all have, and I keep on emphasizing on this, is this. This plate is affecting this plate. This plate is affecting this plate. This plate here is working with this and with this. And this plate is working with this and with this. So in reality, none of you are producing one kind of MAGRAPH, and something happens tomorrow, you move this box over here and this box moves over here. Your gases produced here are not the same as the day before, and you're not necessarily producing CO2 or zinc oxide, or you're producing a variety of version of it. This is what has to change if those of you working on the specific ways to do specific products or manufacturing certain things for yourself or whatever you do. One of the important parts is, I was explaining yesterday, when I made the first and the batches and the following, it took me 3-4 years to develop this. I use a box like this. You can go to any hardware shop and you can buy a box like this, 24 or 48 divisions. If you are planning to use a GaNs for a specific condition, especially for food or whatever, you got to realize that this configuration, these now be boxes you have in the in your lab or in the kitchen or whatever, this is not the same as having a box here and a box there, as I showed before. I use boxes like this as part of developing GaNs for a specific job, and you don't need to produce tons of it. Very small amount, but precise decision making on what you want. It's like, I remember an Indian cook saying Those who learn Indian cooking at the beginning, they use half a, 2, 3 spoon of anything to give it flavor and taste. But you need very little to get the best taste in the Indian curry, when you lose very little of each. It's the same as here. When you produce, when you want to produce GaNs for a specific part of the body or a GaNs for a specific purpose, you have to plan it out. Nowadays it's just bang bang, do this and you can do it. When I used to do it, I explained my way, and then those of you who understand, follow and understand it if you want to use it. I explained this in the medical teaching yesterday. When I make a GaNs for energy, for food, I put condition that I can produce CH3 in this boundary. So I set my system that I only produce CH3 here. If I am using condition of diabetic, I produce CH3 only here. If I'm producing, I'm dealing with a condition of psychological position, pain or whatever, I produce zinc oxide here, anywhere up here. If I'm dealing with a muscle damage, you want to sort out the muscle damage. Muscle has to have something between CH3 needs energy. It has a factor of neurosystem, which is the emotion. So this should be the place for it. You can see here, the ganses are produced. The GaNs here produced has an element of the sugar, which is the energy it needs to repair, has a energy emotion to it on the other side. When you're producing ganses for a specific jobs, even for a flight system, those who are involved in flight system have to understand this. A lot of you just get the plates and randomly do whatever you like, and you think, I did it. It doesn't, because you haven't understood. Monkey see, monkey does, but monkey never understands how it was done. When I produce a GaNs of CO2, I specifically choose a place for CO2. I connect it as much as possible with CH3, but a connection with zinc. If I have a muscle damage, I bring my CO2 here. Because now in this area, this is what you have to understand. This is what has not been understood fully, and I tried many times to explain, is here in one, you create a CH3, but there is a CO2 effect behind it, because it's a zinc and copper and everything else could be in that combination of material in the mesh. Here I create CO2 purely. Here I produce what I need, add CH3 or zinc oxide. So how do I produce it? Here I put my copper plate on this side, nano coated. Here I keep the same copper plate facing it. Here I want a CO2. Next step for me is I place zinc plate here. Here I put my mesh in a different way to make sure I produce CH3. Here I have a zinc, so I keep a zinc next to the zinc, both non-nano-coated, but on this side I put a nano-coated zinc. Now all the amino acids, all the magnetic field pressures become in what I want to produce. When I connect the plates, the connection is very simple. I decide if it's going to be on series or on parallel. Box to box. Now the current flow in this is fully controlled in every box. I put the first box here, the first plate here, I connect here. I go through the box the way I want to make the connection, and then I put the last one here. Here I connect an LED light, which means the energy is totally balanced in all the boxes, continuously. It's the behavior of body of the man. I have a bone damage I want to repair. Bone usually sits central. I put somewhere here, calcium production system. When you take the ganses out of these boxes, these are the mature ganses for exactly what you want to use for. You have the amino acid on each one, which is a combination of the amino acids for what you need. Many of you take the ganses alone and say, okay, this is a CO2 GaNs I've taken from this, or it's a zinc GaNs I've taken from this. But your body is made of amino acid with a common strength to it. So the amino acid, which most of you have not comprehended, is that this amino acid is carbon-related amino acid connected with CO2 and oxygen. This amino acid is zinc connection. This amino acid is sugar connection. If you take this and mix it with the water, this is what you need for production of protein for a given disease, for this certain effects. If you're running systems for health, I teach, nobody listens. I spoke about the amino acid. You put the amino acid from this box, which is specifically for this job, on in your system or in your coil. You link up directly with the disease in the body of the man. All of you go for this. I go for this. You can only use the amino acid in this way when you set up a box like this. You replicate the body of the man. If you haven't seen it, I turn it upside down. You'll see another dimension to it. This is my box. The head. Right side, left side. Position of the head of the man. position of the soul of the man. Now you see how the knowledge has to be used. Now you fill your boxes and what you need. Pancreas, intestine, the lungs, the heart, sexual organs, kidneys, prostate. Then when you use the ganses in the bottom of each pot, you go through the digestion system. When you use the amino acid of it, you go, no. That's the GaNs of amino acid, not the amino acid itself. Because now, as I explained in teaching yesterday, you have this position. This is your mouth, your stomach, your intestine, and this is what I call the sausage tube. You need to connect the sausage tube with the body of the man, which here is outside it, pancreas positioned here, sexual organs positioned in this level. All you need to do to reach it. The process is totally been taught if you go back to original teachings. When you want to feed someone, let's say anorexic, what do you need to do? You need to use these boxes. And this is not for CH3 to digest. This is for CH3 to create a field which sits around the body of the man. CH3 is a giver, so now it gives out. And in what it gives out is according to what is here not needed. And in return, it receives food from the environment. In a way, you create a circulation. But what happens if you put zinc oxide here? Now you see the effect. Now it's gravitational. It means pulling in what it needs. Elevation of the soul of the man in every cell, because every cell of the body of the man needs. So you become more mature in setting up systems. You make a dynamic system. Now you decide what I need to feed, I do with the amino acid. What I need to put in to change, I go through GaNs of the material, which is directed. CH3, ZH and the rest. But with this, you dictate with the amino acid, the water of the amino acid. The new dynamic system which come out of Austria in next few weeks, you will see it'll be very much controlled. The system will go out of the Austrian Keshe Foundation for dynamic system. It'll be so targeted that the doctors cannot deny anything. Because it works on this basis. It works on understanding the work and the condition. I want to elevate the soul of the man. I know exactly what I have to do, in which part I need to operate. I've done many systems in the past, where people do not understand. If I can do it three-dimensional, this was one of the boxes. I stack boxes this way. If I can draw a different color, then you can see it. So where you have your boxes that way, and it goes down, I make another underneath. Put 3 boxes. And you can go in more specific condition. The box to do with the soul of them, the lung and the heart, the intestine. Then the box which sits here carries the exact characteristics which you want. But you sit up and make a box in one day. As I said, making one box takes me 2-3 weeks. This is why, as I said, when I used to run and do the test, I knew exactly where I go, and then I could replicate it in a cup. The knowledge has to be understood, not copied. If you look at it, when you eat something, it goes through your digestion system, becomes part of your lymph. It's this which calls upon it. It doesn't go float find me. This tissue, to do with, let's say, your lung on the right hand side, has a problem. The lymph which has received the strength transfers its energy. Now the lymph finds its way to it. Because the call upon the energy is called. And no one has ever understood this. And I've tried to explain this in so many details before, but it has passed. You have a problem in your kidney at this point. You have put the GaNs and you made the structure, and the lymph has digested the food through the energy. It just doesn't go anywhere. The lymph and the strength of this links up, and the lymphs find its way in the physical matter to it. Brain organizes as a diversion whatever it does not need, it is surplus, there is no link to it. It goes and stays in your liver. And if you understood the work of liver, everybody thinks that the blood feeds the liver, but in fact, the energies from the lymph passes across the wall of the lymph, the liver, to be stored. Because liver again has matching gravitational magnetic field of this. When there is no food of it, it goes up on the liver. And it's controlled by the brain, how much needs to go where. This is how the body of the man works. But this is how every being in the universe works, not just the body of the man. If you're a physician in a deep space and you come across another being and you see a problem, how do you help? How do you solve? How do you assist? If you understand the concept, if you understand the principle, then it's easy. But if you have to go to university to be graduated on how to treat a man for a human being or another being from such a place, such a way, then you have a lifetime of university to go through to learn anything about every creature in the universe. But if you understand the principle, every being has the same process. What would you like to change? What would you like to reach? For me, it's easier to go for the soul. Because at the end of it, they all connect to it. It's the creator of it. But to be able to handle this needs a lot of expertise. A lot of understanding of totality of the knowledge of the plasma in respect to everything else. When you make a helmet, get the box. Now you want to make a helmet. This box here, this is the position where I want to help the ear, the inner ear, the emotion, the soul. Which box I need to produce what. In this process, you have very, very direct effect. This all has to be calcium, nothing else. Here you have totally zinc oxide. You want addition of magnesium and calcium. You dictate the position of the soul. The knowledge has to be understood fully for those who want to explore it. In a way, if you look at it, those of you who are mechanically minded or handyman, it's very much like the twin glues. You buy a glue, twin glue, you have to mix the two to get the right combination. Here are a number of glues. CO2, zinc oxide, calcium, potassium, and zinc. As I said many times before, none of you, I haven't seen many people, I've discussed this with Arman before as well, have gone into producing combination of zinc and CO2. Because then you approach the more accurate position. How do you produce a zinc and CO2 at the same time? You had a nano copper here, you put a zinc plate here. What about if you put a nano zinc plate here? What about if you put magnesium here? Now here you reach exactly what you need. No one listens, so we carry on till you mature to a point that you can understand. When you do this, you have to watch where your copper sits. The only muscle red tissue, whatever we have, is on the boundary. You can even go to the box next door. But knowing you place this, that you have no copper interfering. Now, convert these. You achieved the condition of perfect soul condition. Place the water of its amino acid in the dynamic core. And put a fountain of its GaNs water in the city. See how many people you change. This technology, near enough to it, but not complete, was used by the Russian and the American ship. You can change the social structure. This is where this technology now, from now on, becomes effective. Those who've been in my lab, they've seen these boxes around me, I've shown them. And each box has different color on it. They're still as part of the museum pieces, will be shown in the future. This is why the way I worked is so effective, because everything has to be taken into consideration. Not just, I made the zinc box and I made a copper box and they do. Those of you who are trying to achieve flight have to follow this in production of any material. This is how you become correct. Gradually understand the totality. But in every system, you have to make sure the two ends meet. That the energy is balanced, the conditions created is correct. Now, you can see the operation between the physicality system and the soul system. It's the maturity in the knowledge. If you go back in the teachings of medical teaching, the health teachings, some 32 of them, in so many ways, again and again, this has been explained in every lesson. Change this box from the soul of the man to the lung when you have a problem. What's the function of the lung in the boundary? Where is the problem in the center, or whatever. You choose, you can target. This is why from the beginning, I always said, there is an emotional side to every cell in the body of the man, every organ. Because now you connect the two together. When the two connect together, they create the soul of the entity. And you work through that way. It needs two dimensions to interact, to produce, to create the soul. Then you work 100% correct. You can then go back into space and change this to the combination of anything could be in another planet. Let's say whatever you like, C. The only difference you're gonna get is this, which makes you green. But the process is exactly the same. Understanding of the technology in its true essence has to be done this way. Those who've been in my lab when I used to do these tests, or in my office in Belgium, they've seen these boxes on my table, but they could never understand what I was up to. You create everything which is already connected to each other. So when you use another, trying to balance connected to each other, they bring balance to the body of the man or the entity. Understanding of the technology is understanding its application according to what you need. When you're in the space technology and you're trying to create a lift and motion using dynamic system, look in what I've taught you and understand the grid. Then you can understand how you're loading the grid. You always have a miscomprehension of this totality. Do I receive more, or do I actually need to give to receive more? Or do I pretend that I need to receive, then by receiving I increase the pull, that by it I create the giving. But I have to find the right ratio to be able to do it. But because you have used the amino acids of the GaNs in either position, now your emotion controls the flight. Now your soul controls the flight. This is where we bring the control of the physicality to non-dimensional systems. When in the future the captains of the crafts, those who like to fly with them, travel, their key carries part of their soul which connected to the system. Tailor-made control system without any wiring. In the direction where we are working now for wireless energy transmission, which is very soon people would ask us, now you have to give us the blueprint of the wireless system. You don't need to have a switch that switches it on. By your intention, the system come on. Because the energy is from the center. You enter a room, you need the light will be there. The biggest problem is to understand how slowly I bring what I've been teaching you in past few months about the soul, which is your control of it, then it comes through your emotion and becomes your physicality manifestation. You start learning. Now the two parts come together. For those who still want to see more physical dimensions in everything else, you got to realize that the total balance of the energies in the soul and the physicality dictates and is dictated by your soul. and then you call it intention. Do I need a light to see when I go into the room, when I see through the soul of my soul? Not really. But if you want to see, to appreciate the beauty, you still can do. Many of people who understand this process in the time to come, they travel the depth of the space by simply understanding the work of the amino acid, as I showed you, and their own soul. Then you can manifest yourself in any dimension, any physicality you need. There is a one understanding, and that is the soul of the man, the way we have created it in through the systems, is connected to the amino acid of this planet. Wherever you go, you will manifest yourself in relation to the space and dimension, but in relation to the field strength of this planet. You have no choice. You come from the motherland, the earth. This is how we know who is from where and what is the reason.